Hello and welcome to KennyRoy.com. I'm Kenny Roy. This is the Ask Videomail for the week of April 28th, 2014. Welcome to the site to you new members, and welcome back to the old. The Ask Videomail is your chance to get your question in character animation or performance answered in the video, just like this one, but I need your question if I'm going to answer it. So please send your questions to webmaster@KennyRoy.com. I answer all the questions I think will help the most people. There is no such thing as a stupid question. Believe me, if there was, I have definitely asked it already, so don't be shy. And it is the best way to get the most out of the site. So send in those questions. Don't forget, you can also send me in your Maya file. Just I ask that you don't use any copyrighted rigs from your work or your school. But anything else, you can send it in to me. And you know what? I actually don't mind opening stuff off camera. I just can't record videos using copyrighted rigs, but I don't mind taking a look at stuff from your school or whatever. I like to look at things. I don't know, am I weird? Does that make me weird? We are moving. That is right. We are moving our Conic Animation Studios to Sherman Oaks, where we have more space, lower rent, which means that I can offer even better rates to all my clients, and I'm a little bit more centrally located to the Burbank and Pasadena area, which is where some of my clients actually come from, and North Hollywood, that kind of area, and also the West Side. So I'm very excited about this move. It's going to mean, though, that the Ask Video Mail, the background, is going to change, and you're going to, hopefully we won't go through too many growing pains with the Ask Video Mails. Everything will continue as normal, but just wanted to let you know ahead of time that things are going to be changing. So don't be afraid when that happens. And that's pretty much it for the announcements this week. Stay tuned, because I'm going to be doing a collabs announcement first week of May, which is next week, and you don't want to miss that. If you are excited about collabs, then pay attention. It's happening. It's happening, guys. Let's get crazy. Let's get psycho together. Okay, this week, good question. I am surprised I've never kind of answered this before, but come take a look. Thank you for the awesome question. Very, 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 very good. So I'd like to kind of use this opportunity, because it's a question that's been posed to me, to kind of summarize everything that I've said so far about workflow, that I've said so far about learning animation, and sort of like wrap together in one idea what the difference between a really, really good animator and someone who's learning is. And I've focused mostly on the positive, but it's also a good idea to try to avoid the negative, isn't it? We want to focus on the positive, but we also want to know what the common pitfalls are so that we can avoid them. So first, I will say that the most common misconception about the best animators, and I've said this before, but it bears repeating, is that they take one perfect step in front of another as they're working on their animation, that they are just always completely on rails like a train, and there's no deviating, because they have a perfect piece of animation in mind, and they execute it perfectly. They couldn't be further from the truth. Okay, perfect animation is not possible. What is really good and what makes like the best animation possible is that editing eye, is the ability to get something just out as quickly as possible and then manipulate it into place. That's how it's done. Okay, so and I've said it before, that's why I kind of briefly summarized it. The most common pitfall is kind of the opposite of that. The idea that what you need to be doing is just taking one perfect step after another and being like basically perfect as you're working. Another thing, though, is the mindset that's behind that. I know I've said that before, but the mindset behind that I want to kind of describe. We do it with everything. And the reason I know we do it with everything is because last night, literally last night, here at the office, trying to get things ready to move, and wanted to make send an email that was a list to long story, contractor, in the new space, building server room, whatever. Anyway, long story short, I was dictating a letter, and my PA who was taking the letter was at like every single list item that I suggested was kind of like editing it, and was like asking like, should we say that? Shouldn't we kind of like rephrase that? And it for some reason, like, I was like so frustrated, and then I realized, oh my God, you're doing what like I tell all my students to never do. You're trying, as we're getting this list out, you're trying to make it perfect, like as we go. And it's killing me. I'm not able to like think of the next list item because you're like constantly like interrupting and trying to make this one that we just said like better, or the best it can be, like as we're doing it. Like, just let me get all like 10 things down, and then we'll go back and we'll clean up the language. We'll make it so that both the landlord and the real estate broker, they're everybody is on the same page. We'll make sure that it's perfect. We'll edit it into place. But you're killing and it's not a very creative moment, writing a letter to a contractor regarding a commercial space for rent. But it still was like killing my creativity that I was being like asked to like make what I just put out like perfect. So finally we got through it. And then I thought to myself, man, if this is applied like that with just this little thing, how often in our lives do we apply that attitude where we are trying to be perfect on the first try? We're trying to just do it perfectly. That if that's what is a mindset that is kind of pervading our lives, then it's an overall life choice that we all need to start making to change that. So this is my challenge to you as an animator, is to look in other areas of your life right now and ask yourself, are you taking or trying to take perfectly placed steps one after another to try to do everything, to try to get where you are in the rest of your life or whatever? I would challenge you to throw that out and replace it with instead a attitude where you just got to get it out of you, and everything can be manipulated and edited and sweetened and tweaked and adjusted and just moved forward once it's out of you. Okay? And do it with like the simplest things. Do it with like a list of things that you're writing a grocery list to your mom, whatever, anything. Just see if you have the overall attitude correct, and I think that would be a big thing that you can change if you want to be a great animator, is to just make a habit of this. I saw this in a movie. I think it's The Waking Life. You ever seen it? Not The Waking Life, just Waking Life. It was one of the first movies that was like the Scanner Darkly or Charles Schwab commercials where they like kind of like do flash animation like over live action footage. I think in that movie they said that in your dreams you can't change the lighting. So if in your waking life You're always turning on and off lights. You just make it a habit. Every single room you walk into, you turn on the lights. You do that enough, it becomes subconscious. You don't even have to think about doing that, right? This is in your waking life. You just walk in, always turn off and turn on the lights. Every single light you see, you turn it on, then you turn it off, right? Everywhere you go. Sooner or later, that'll become subconscious, and then it'll pervade your dreams. And then in a dream, what will happen is you'll go to turn on a light and you won't be able to. You'll flick the light switch. All your lights will, if they're on, they'll stay on. I haven't done this, but I think I researched it and it was substantiated with my research, like online. Anyway. Then what you can do is you can take control of your dreams. You can lucid dream if you want, because you'll realize, oh my God, I'm in a dream right now because none of the lights are turning off. That's fantastic. And then you can, fly out the window if you like. Reason I'm bringing that up is because we don't realize how much of our attitude in other aspects, in other areas of our life, actually kind of affects our animation or our learning of animation, and that's really important to change, I think, if you want to be the best animator you can be. So overall, it's that attitude, and that is the most common pitfall for beginner animators and for junior animators is definitely that. And then sort of a little bit more generally, taking like one step back, I wrote this in my Staying Motivated series of articles that are in the article section right now. You should go check them out. If you haven't read them, please read the Staying Motivated. It actually feeds right into the Anim Gym, which is also free for everybody to participate in. I really love that we're getting a lot of repeat people in the Anim Gym. I'd like to see more new people in the Anim Gym as well. Anyway, in the Staying Motivated article series, I talk about basically having an attitude of practice, an attitude of exercise rather than an attitude of like producing something. And this goes along sort of with what Ira Glass said in that famous YouTube video that he's quoted in, where it talks about having good taste, and when you get into art, you get into because you have great taste, and for a long time you're not producing anything that is even at the level of your taste. Well, my point is that if you take the attitude of producing something out of it, then you'll be much more likely to commit to practicing. Practice makes perfect, right? If you're trying to be a Pixar animator and the way that you want to achieve that Pixar quality is you sit down without those skills yet and you try to produce a Pixar quality shot, you're just going to disappoint yourself. And that can be very demoralizing, just failing over and over and over at producing something that's in your head. You're never going to get the skills that you need to make what's in your head if you don't practice those skills. All right, so it takes practicing to get to where you can produce what's in your head. Okay, it's an attitude shift. It's an attitude change. Okay, another sort of real life. I told you a little story about this list that we made last night. Another sort of like real life application of this is when I get job applications in my email. I get a lot of job applications from people that say, like, I have like 5 years experience. And I read it and I'm like, 5 years experience, they should be pretty good. They should be pretty darn good. So let me read this and let me see. And then it shows like, hey, I have 5 years experience, and I've even produced like my own animated web series. And I think to myself, wow, man, that's pretty darn good for 5 years. And then I watch it, and it's horrible. And they clearly decided to just like kind of like leapfrog over all of the necessary skills and training that you need to make good animation, and decided to just make something that is extremely mediocre at best. And so where are they? they've got something that they can't sell. It's not good enough. That's not getting them a job, and their attitude is still stuck in that producing mentality. Now, I am all for, once you have marketable skills, producing at the level that you are comfortable with. Okay, push yourself to the limit, but don't try to take on, don't try to make like this 15-minute thing with like 20 characters and huge special effects within it. If you just graduated, for instance, from an animation program, then maybe make a 1 or 2 character short with one environment that is, kind of a character piece, or sort of more story-based than action-based, and make it great, and do your very, very, very best, and produce it, make it. I'm really, really, really behind all of you, and I want you to be successful, and I want you to do those kinds of things to succeed. But in order to learn, you can't have that producing attitude. You need to practice those skills. So to kind of round this up, the best animators, and I've said this before, but the best animators are the best animation editors, and they're the best critiquers. They're the best critics of animation. What they do is, when they're making their own shots, they get kind of like 5-10 quick ideas kind of out in front of them, sloppy, loose, rough, whatever you want to call it. I call it editable. And in their mind, it's not any of those things. It's not like rough or loose or whatever. It's editable. And then from those ideas, anyone, you and I as well, could pick the best one. If you throw 5 shots and see which one sticks, you and a Pixar animator would both pick the same one. The only difference between you and them is you're still busy trying to, do things like toe rolls on your first idea, and they've already tried out 5 different ones. It's the only difference, okay? And so the biggest weakness, to kind of like contrast that, and I love this question because I haven't really talked about the weaknesses in a succinct way, but the biggest weakness is trying to be perfect, is not letting that editing attitude be a big part of your life. And I'm really glad last night I had that experience, because I'm now looking at a lot of different things, and in the way that I'm interacting with everybody, and seeing if I kind of have that, feeling of being pressured to be perfect and to lay it out in a perfect way, or if I'm a little bit more free to edit. And I think I can do better to kind of get it out there and be a little bit more editing than I am right now. And I would challenge you to look at that as well. And then the next thing is not having that practiced attitude and being way too in the mindset that you need to kind of work ahead. There are no shortcuts. I guess that's the bottom line. There are no shortcuts. Every single person that has achieved anything that you want to, ask them how they did it. Especially in the animation industry, everyone's very, very friendly. I met my idol, Michel Gagne. He was like a super down-to-earth guy. I had no idea. I mean, I say this and I believe it, but they kind of didn't believe it too. That everyone in the animation industry, no matter how big or popular or famous or whatever, super down to earth. Find somebody that you really respect, and contact them and ask them how they did it. Ask them how long the road was, or ask them about their path. You'll see. And then come back here and work in the anim gym. Okay? All right. Deal. All right, we can all work together. Thanks a lot for the great question. Please send in more questions. You know the address to send it to is webmaster@kennyroy.com. That's never changed. But this is going to all change. So we're going to have a brand new background, new office soon, and I'm looking forward to just doing more with you guys and growing together. Thanks a lot. Good luck with your animation, and as always, Rock on.